So
Yeah,
we good to
starting the recording has started.
Okay. And do we want to confirm who's here for the commissioners?
I believe everyone was scheduled. Will
All right. So I do see Tony, Glenn, Ed, Becky, I think I saw you as well.
Yes.
Okay. And Diane.
Diane, yep.
Okay. And Kim Kennison is may not be able to join us today. If she does, she may just be listening in on the call. And we'll look forward to having her back on Zoom with us for the next meeting, which currently is scheduled for June 5th. So next up is approval consideration for the minutes of the February 28th, 2024 meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Under discussion, any modifications? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mike, I abstain. I was absent from that meeting.
Okay. All right. Bill, you've got that? Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay, so next up is an update on the 2022 and 2023 municipal audit reports that have not yet been filed. Bill, do you want to start with an overview, and then we can focus in on the 3 municipalities from 2022 that are still outstanding?
Yes. So in your packet there should be information. We compared 2020 through 2023 as far as audit report submissions, and there's been a significant drop off in audits that were submitted by the December 31st due date, and just in general, reports are coming in later. When we checked this morning, we did have some additional reports. So total reports for 2023 is 124 have been submitted. So we're still considerably behind in receiving the 23 reports.
Okay. Yeah, the numbers certainly are down even compared to last year at this time. So, all right, on the 2023 front, we'll continue to monitor and hopefully we'll see some improvement on the submissions over the next couple months as we head towards the end of the current 2024 fiscal year. So we do have 3 towns from fiscal year 2022 that as of today have still not submitted. Those are the towns of Danbury, East Lyme, and Marlboro. So why don't we start with Danbury? I see Mayor Alves. Do you want to start?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I am just incredibly apologetic that the city of Danbury is where it is. And as we've shown you, we have taken tremendous strides to get to a completion in 22 so we can start 23 and do our due diligence with 23. Today, I feel we are in the best place that we have been since I've been here. Obviously, we've put in many resources into it with CLA, and then RSM and Scott have been just tremendous in helping us, and everybody just really put in the extra resources to get us to a point of completion. Last call we were on, we talked about we wouldn't be done by this meeting. It was going to be a few weeks after this meeting. We still stand by, being done after this meeting. We are pushed back a little bit for reasons that the group here does know. We had to pull a lot of resources and time and work very hard for 10 days due to the fact that we were on that S&P credit watch list. And I will let the experts talk on that a little bit, but we submitted drafts and worked, and we are now off that watch list again. So our financial health is great. It was just a matter of, getting our elbows dirty, rolling up sleeves, putting in the hours, and then the city committing resources to get us out of here that we have. I will step back and let perhaps Scott and if Mr. Garrick is on from the city side, answer any of the technical questions for you. But the city's still committed to this. The light at the end of the tunnel just keeps getting brighter. We're almost at the end, and this really is almost done. In fact, I believe we have now submitted on our end, at least at one point, at point of origin to RSM, everything we needed for audit, but RSM doing their due diligence, making sure everything is T's are crossed and I's are dotted. A couple things returned to us that we have to give them some more answers on. But the partnership has been incredible. So Scott, do you want to jump in? Anything you want to fill in on that?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we had to push to get that draft out, which we did, which we're very confident in the numbers and everything as that goes. So right now, really, I'm working, first, as the mayor stated, the resources that they put on this the last 2 months has been incredible. They were down at least 1 or 2 staff for over a year, and going through this process has been really helpful. So right now we are just, as all you auditors know, we're finishing that last 5% of stuff that we have to audit and look at the source documentation, which is never fun for the people on the other side, as a lot of you finance directors know, but that's what we have to do. And so we have to stick to our protocol to do that. So we are, I'd say I'm 95% done, but that 5% is always a little bit difficult. And that's what we're working with Dan and his staff on now. The file's been reviewed, they're comfortable with the financial statement that was out there. So I'll echo what the mayor said is, I believe we're 2 to 3 weeks out. And just to be transparent, it's probably going to be closer to that 3rd week, but that's kind of our goal, is to get that out and then jump right back in and get, 2023 started.
And Scott, on that front with 2023, is the table relatively set? Do you anticipate that the town's in a good place to provide the information so you guys can get rolling?
Well, what makes me optimistic is just the folks that are in place right now. Who's going to quarterback, who's going to drive the process, I think will make it that much more efficient than being a couple people down. And if CLA's able to stay on and navigate some of those difficult inputs for us, that'd be terrific too. You do know we have that one last standard to implement, which is the SPIDIS standard, which is a little bit of a heavy lift. So I know Dan's getting started on that already for 2023. So we have the manpower to do it. It's a good thing that May, June, July, and August are a good time to get an audit done. So we'll work as fast as the city gives us information.
Mike, if I may, in terms of the positions we were down, our administration came in and aggressively filled positions with qualified people. There is, I believe, just one more in the finance department that we're looking to fill, but that's more on the grant side of things. But as we hire folks we want to get our house in order. So they're actually working on audit before they work on others. So once we get our grants right, we're actually, expecting them to be able to jump and help on this. We have also made the commitment to financial commitment here in the city to retain CLA for 23 as well. So it's just, again, we are fully committed to get out of this.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any follow-up questions?
No.
Okay. All right, Mayor and Scott, thank you for the update, and hopefully it'll be 2 to 3 weeks out that OPM will see the filing of the report for 2022.
That's good. Thanks everybody for their time. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is East Lyme, and I believe they have provided a draft of the 2022 audit report earlier this week. So who do I see that we have Kevin Jervis on the call, and do we also is
Dan
that
Cunningham.
Yep.
So
Morning
first
to you
selectman
both.
sitting behind me here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. So we sent a draft earlier from the CLA was able to provide us. we are hopeful that we are also a couple weeks out here. And Nicoletta and Dave Hansen on the call could probably confirm that with us. But I think we're in the final stretch here. I know we're working on some final audit, some final single audit things that just popped up and dealing with DPH and OPM the last couple of days on some 2020 and 2021 issues. So we've got the budget done behind us. We hired a second external accountant. So I really feel like the finance office here in East Lyme is starting to gain traction on 2022. Turning gears real quickly to 2023, one of our external accountants that we brought in has started compiling and closing out 2023 and getting that ready. So when this audit's completed in the next couple weeks here, we can turn right into 2023 and get that turned around hopefully in record time. So that's our goal here. Dan, anything you want to add?
Well, I'm really optimistic. We've gotten some of the issues that we were dealing with behind us now. The budget is almost wrapped. It is wrapped up. These 20 and 21 issues we were talking about, looks like that will be behind us as well. We're staffed up. We've got momentum, and I think we're really going to push this forward and get on track where we're supposed to be in the future. So I'm very optimistic and happy to report that.
Okay, and you do anticipate by the end of the month finalizing and submitting the report?
Nicoletta, do you like timeline wise? I know we're at the final stages. I just don't know what your thoughts are on final timeline of publishing the financials.
That it's probably more likely 3 to 4 weeks for final issuance.
Okay.
Because we have to go through all the quality control and reviews and wrapping up some open items that we still have. So it's more realistic to say 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay. And Nicolette, are you guys going to be positioned to be able to move on the 2023 audit during the upcoming couple months?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any follow-up questions? Okay. All right. Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Gervis, thank you. We'll hopefully, when you're back reporting to us on June 5th, be in a position to have certainly had the 2022 filed, and we'll look for an update on how things are progressing with 2023 at that point in time.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and for the town of Marlborough, I do see it looks like we have David and Linda. Do either of you want to take the lead?
Yes, I would be happy to. David Porter, Town Manager in Marlborough. I'm very pleased to report that we received last Friday, April 12th, the draft fiscal year 22 audit. We are currently reviewing and completing the MD&A and are working closely with Vanessa and her team at CLA with the goal and expectation to issue that audit by April 30th. We have also, and I'm very grateful to Vanessa for this, but we do plan on retaining CLA for the fiscal year 23 audit. I will take that agreement and contract to the Board of Finance for their approval before the end of April. And then we have a planning call scheduled with CLA the week of April 22nd to work out the timeline to begin the 23 audit.
Okay, that's fantastic. All right, any follow-up questions on that? And Vanessa, is that, are you guys in a position to be able to move on the 2023 audit as well during the next couple months?
Yes, we're having a meeting, as David stated, I think on the 25th. So we have time reserved for the summer, as Scott Bassett stated. We have availability. So as long as everything is ready for us and tied with a bow, we should be great.
Okay, fantastic. Right. And Linda, are things progressing well on your end? You're just on mute, Linda. That's okay. All right. Okay.
Linda, you could
No
look for
problem.
you
We'll
could
look
look
to
for
get
a
the
microphone
update
sign.
on June 5th. So. All right, thank you. So for the town of Marlborough, I think we're all set. And again, we'll. It sounds like you'll be filing the 2022. Certainly in the next few weeks, and then we're on to 2023.
That is the plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up, we're gonna focus in on the city of Derby. Who do we have with us today?
Good morning, Mayor DiMartino here. We have Brian Hall, the finance director, and John Accavello, our auditor. Just to give you a quick update, last Thursday, we hired Brian as a full-time finance director. We have not had one for almost 2 years, so we're very happy and pleased about that. We also hired a full-time tax collector, which we haven't had in 3 years. Person that we hired has 13 years experience, so we're very pleased with that hire also. Last night we passed our budget for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Unfortunately, with a 4.6 mil increase, but something that needed to be done to balance the budget. So that was passed also last night. So very pleased to at least announce those 3 things that are going on. I have Brian Hall here with me for any questions you may have, and also John Accavello, like I said, if you have any questions for him.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Brian, and congratulations. It's I'm sure great for the town to have you on board full time.
Yes, thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Yeah, so I mean, I think just the mayor highlighted a lot of the touch points. I think, I'll let John speak to where we're at with the 23 audit. I know it's from a numbers perspective, they've gotten a little bit worse than what I had showed last time. Now we're expecting probably closer to a $1.1 million deficit versus revenues. Now, 900,000 of that was planned and budgeted. So it's not a million miles off of what we thought was going to happen. But that said, the audit's not done, and I'm sure there'll be other things that come up, but hopefully no major surprises like there were a year ago with the audit. And then as far as the current year goes, 23, 24, a lot of we've already got some things passed to plug the holes. We talked about it last time, using the ARPA funds, the remaining ARPA funds, as well as reducing the contributions for the pension plan. And that's really how we're going to get to this 500,000 or so surplus in the current year, is the plan. So all in all, we're going to keep the fund balance around the 4 million number. I mean, we'd like it a little bit higher, but it was certainly on track to be fully depleted had we not taken a lot of the actions and steps we did. And then as the mayor mentioned, we're very confident that we've got a very fair and reasonable budget plan for next year. The 4.6 mils was almost a 12% increase in taxes. So, getting everybody in the city, including the residents, on board with that has been a challenge, but we worked through it and it got passed. So, I'm really hopeful that lays a great foundation go forward so that there's no material increases. We could kind of be slow and steady increases like most towns and cities would do under normal course. And then with that, I think maybe John, if you'd like to speak a little bit about where we're at with the timing as far as the audit.
Absolutely. We have about 2.5 to 3 weeks more of field work to complete for 2023, of which, some of the biggest issues are, one, there was a conversion to a new accounting package, making sure all the numbers got in correctly, and reconciling between the Board of Ed and the city. Every year it's a challenge, but this year it's been a little bit better than in the past. The accounts payable has been shortened up, and the cutoff is a lot better over there. So things are going in the correct direction as far as I'm concerned. With that said, after 2.5, 3 weeks, we'll have a draft and go through our quality control and go over the findings with management and the board.
Are you under contract for the 2024 audit?
Not yet. No.
Okay. And I just, before turning it over to the commissioners for their questions, on the 2025 budget that was just passed, is there any designation of fund balance in that budget? Or use of fund balance?
Well, there is a little bit, but that was really related to items that had been previously encumbered for ARPA related purposes. So when we brought in the ARPA funds, we brought them all in, and then we left about 600,000 or so of expense that we know we're going to use that for out of the general fund for projects that had already been encumbered. But that's really it.
Okay. All right, Tony, I'll start with you.
You actually answered my question about the ARPA funds. I just wanted to make a comment that appears as if for the 25 budget, it looks like you've made some tough choices in the past. We had seen, overestimating revenues and underestimating expenses or under budgeting expenses. So I'm hopeful that you're turning that around to sort of reflect, more of an accurate sort of budget. So I just want to make that comment. I know it looks like for a 12% mill rate increase, that wasn't an easy process, though.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, and we've got our collection rates in line with what they've historically been, not with some huge, expected increase that never materializes. So right. Yeah, I agree. I think we've got it, both our expense side and our revenue side tightened up. Look, with every budget, there's going to be some puts and takes, some opportunities and some risks, but I think right now it's all fairly balanced.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay. Diane?
The only question that I have, I know you're planning on using a large portion of your fund balance for fiscal 23, and then fiscal 24, you estimate that you'll replenish that a bit. Does the city have, or if you don't, just think about fund balance policy going forward as far as where you want to maintain an undesignated fund balance or an unassigned fund balance? I think if I calculate it right, you're at like around 7% of your budget right now.
Right. Yeah. Certainly our goal would be to be at around the 10% level. Okay. I think it's just you're going to be a challenge to get there. So I think the 12% increase was about as much as we could stomach. I think we'll revisit that, assuming let's see how the audit lands and see how these projections come out. And then hopefully maybe we can get to a point where we can start to have a surplus to build that fund balance back up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Ed?
Just two things. Just in terms of wrapping up 23, I know you've done with the field work in a couple of weeks. Is planned for the end of May to have that finalized and wrapped up. And then secondly, in terms of engaging the auditor for 24 year end and just ensuring that the process continues on and what some of the outlooks are in terms of that timing as well.
I mean, John's been our auditor for, I don't know, how many years, John? 30 years or something for the city. So.
Well, I'm not, no, I haven't been in practice for 30. but
That's what you just tell me every time we talk.
but I
don't know.
appreciate it. No, it's been like 18 years. It's been a long, lot of finance directors and personnel turnovers over those periods.
Yeah, and look, I'm pretty confident.
The end of
Sorry, go
May
ahead.
is the end of May is our time frame. And just so you know, that's
Okay.
the answer to your first question.
And I would expect to retain John for the upcoming audit. We've just been focused on a few other things, but I'll get that shored up soon.
Yeah, and I think Brian would, and maybe at the June meeting, you can give us some insight on, what are the possibilities of, closing out the books for 2024, lining up the audit, and potentially, being in a position to file by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, let me review the findings with John, and obviously I'm gonna have a pretty good handle on all of the deliverables that need to happen. But yeah, June would be a good time for another update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Becky?
All right, thank you, everyone.
No, hold on. Brian, hold on a minute. Becky, anything?
Brian, I have a couple of comments. This is why you wanted to leave, no doubt. With respect to your pension funding, I know that pension contributions can be an expensive proposition, but I will register some concern that insufficient contributions have been going into the Derby retirement plan. And I'm just wondering, have you been looking at longer term at the consequences of underfunding now? And do you have a plan for bringing the plan into a better funded position over a reasonable period of time? And I know that you're not pre-funding your OPEB benefits at all. So can you comment on that?
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, bringing down that pension this year was a tougher decision, and one we made because we had the near-term problems and near-term needs. We did fund it back for next year's budget at the $1 million level, which is where we had been the year before. So I think we were starting to get onto track. I got the report back, and we're at 80%. So we're not as bad off as some other municipalities are. And we felt like this was the year if we were going to underfund it a little bit. Though, to be fair, it still was more than what had been done in many of the previous years, which, again, not a good thing, but at least it's still like we're getting there a little bit more. And like I said, the plan for next year is to get back to the appropriate funding levels and then continue on and go forward. I'm confident that with the tax increase that's going into place, we'll have the funds to do that, and we won't have to, rely on underfunding the pension go forward.
If I might suggest, at least according to your 2021 valuation, I don't have anything more recent than that. You're using a funding method, a method of calculating the actuarially determined contribution that's a bit unusual, not unheard of, but a bit unusual. And it might be worthwhile taking a step back and thinking about how you calculate each year's contribution and coming up with an amount that is sustainable and affordable and designed to bring the plan to a fully funded position within a reasonable period of time, and then stick with it. So that it is not a question in the budget process of will you or won't you be able to fund the contribution, but rather crafting a strategy that you can live with and then sticking with it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. All right, Mayor and Brian, thank you. We'll look forward for additional updates when we see you in June.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Mike, it's Glenn. If you could just put on the record that they are a firm client, Derby, so I step back in that regard.
Yeah, it's certainly, Bill, if you can note that, and Glenn actually remembered that one, so that's why I didn't call on you. All right, very good. Next up is the town of Hamden. Who do we have with us today?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor.
And I have Curtis Eatman with me today, our finance director.
Okay, good morning, Curtis.
Good morning. Sure.
All right, so we sent in all of our information. We have just sent to the Legislative Council a month ago our recommended budget. We are working through our ARPA budget and getting everything that we can under contract. That is, we're doing pretty well. Tripped up on a couple of recommendations from the council that we're trying to work through. And so just happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay. I guess a couple. In regards to the current budget year, it looks like, can you just run us through the appropriation from fund balance? I
Sure,
believe.
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So these were all based on agreements that the council had made. And so the first one is $3 million that was agreed to provide extra funding to the Board of Education as they're trying to work through some cost savings. We signed an MOA that they would try to work on some cost savings and that this didn't increase their minimum budget requirement. And so that was agreed to, I believe, towards May or June of last year. And so that came from the fund balance. There was also capital projects that were done last year. They're borrowed for capital, and the funding mechanism initially was to do a capital transfer. And what council wanted was for after our audit was completed, that we would, if there was fund balance available, that we would replace the money into the capital non-recurring fund for the Board of Education, because the transfers came from what had been borrowed for Board of Ed capital projects. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the $3 million was for Board of Ed operating costs, and then $4 million was to the capital non-recurring fund for the Board of Ed, and there was $800,000 that was for our revaluation. That again came from Board of Ed bonded money. It had been bonded quite a number of years ago, and the council had asked us to replace that funding to the Board of Ed's capital non-recurring account.
Okay. All right. So overall, with the for 2024, with the appropriation of fund balance, be it the 7.7 million, you're projecting a surplus of 5 million. So overall,
Yes.
the net drawn fund balance you're projecting is 2.5 million or thereabouts.
So, and I would like to say that while the revenue does come in from fund balance, the expenses are also in the amended budget. So the expenses are, it's more of an accounting mechanism that it's running through the operating budget. It was not used for the operating budget. It was not part of the approved budget. And so we use this as an accounting mechanism to comply with the council's requests.
Right. Okay, and certainly the results of operations for 2024 may very well get better, by the time you reach the close out of the year. But
Yes.
as far as through June 30th of 24, though, at least at the moment, you're looking at a net reduction in fund balance. Is that correct?
Can you say that again, please?
Well, with the appropriation out of fund balance of the
Yeah,
7.7 million,
Yes.
if you have a surplus of 5 million,
Yes.
the net position of fund balance in theory is going to go down by approximately 2.7 million as of June 30th.
Yes, that's correct. That's what we're expecting.
All right. And the reason why I asked that is this ties into your 2025 budget, where there's an appropriation of fund balance as a revenue source of, I believe, approximately 7.9 million built into the budget.
Correct.
How is this, or can you just speak to how this is aligning with your fund balance policy?
Yes, so our analysis is that we are in compliance and will be in compliance with our 7% required fund balance. And our fund balance has grown more than we expected it to in a very quick amount of time because of a lot of savings that we found and very conservative budgeting. And so we are utilizing some of that to provide some savings to the residents.
Okay. It is a big number. Depending on how things play out in 2025, your following year's budget, could be, that much more challenging if you don't have the ability to then further draw upon fund balance. So just something to be mindful of, as your budget year unfolds.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll open any other updates before we open it up to the commissioners.
Not from me.
Okay. All right, Glenn, I'll start with you.
No, I didn't. My only question is you in your letter had said about property sales and the town's mill rate improving. I wanted to just ask what the expectations were with that, because you mentioned about being able to reduce the mill rate again in the following year based on that. Where does that projection come from, I guess?
Sure. So we are working through a reval, and that will hit next year in next year's budget for fiscal year 26. We are about finished with data collection, and the initial numbers that our assessor's office have given us, we asked them to produce projections for more of a conservative growth, moderate growth, or like a higher grand list growth. And the very conservative numbers are 6% increase in the grand list. And the moderate projection is about 12%, with the higher projection being 18%. But I think that based on the real estate sales that we've seen over the last couple of years, the increase in the real estate market, a 12% increase in the grand list is not extraordinary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Becky.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll just check in with you. I know that funding your pension plan has obviously been a big concern, and the plan is quite poorly funded. What's your current thinking in terms of how you're going to address that in the longer term?
Sure. So many years ago, I believe it was in 2012, 2015, something like that, the town took out pension obligation bonds and 2015. And so that was applied towards the pension plan. We have been paying our actuarially required contribution, 100% of it for the past few years, several years. there was a ramp up to the full 100% of the actuarially required contribution. We just had an audit done for our pension plan, and they provided us with the actuarially required contribution. We are looking into an experience study to make sure that, all of our assumptions for mortality rates and are solid. We have been exceeding for, I believe, the past 5 years, the assumed rate of return for our pension plan. So while our assumptions are a little bit high for our assumed interest rate, our assumed rate of return, we are meeting those targets, but we are going to utilize the experience study before we make any changes to that.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, Ed?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Diane?
One quick question, Mayor. Your current mill rate is, I just couldn't find it in the.
Sure. The current mill rate is 56.39.
56.38.
56.38, moving to 55.38.
Okay. So right now you are using the 3246 for motor vehicle. I was just looking at just planning ahead. If you go through revale next year, what would happen? But you'll probably still be above the 32.46.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Because that's 11.8 million would be a lot to lose coming up in 2 years.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
All right. That I just wanted clarification on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good, Mike.
Thanks, Diane. Tony?
Yes, thanks, Mike. I said a quick question. I know you touched on this earlier, but I know we're all going through this with the ARPA funds, and your schedule looks like it's 35% obligated, but there's a couple of big projects on there. Do you think, like, I see you have the community campus and the New Hall Foundations. Do you think those will actually, get obligated before the end of the year?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Big.
we are very close to having a contract finalized for the New Hall Foundations, and we have our I can't remember if it's an RFP or an RFQ for the community campus that should be done within the next couple of weeks. And we are coming up with a plan B just in case we don't hit, in case we are not able to get something under contract. But plan A, we are hopeful for and working diligently to get it under contract. And plan B is certainly in the works because we do not want to return any money to the feds.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we have a plan B also for a few things that are hanging out there. So I know what you mean.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. And Mayor, just the process for the adoption of the 2025 budget.
Sure. So today is the 17th. It's due in 1 month. May 17th is a deadline for the Legislative Council to vote out the budget ordinance. And so we provided everything that we're required to. We are going through budget deliberations. We had one last night, and just working through to accommodate all of the council's requests.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. We'll look forward to the next update on June 5th.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Okay. Next up, we have the town of Plymouth. Who do we have with us today?
Mayor Joe Kilduff, Finance Director Grace Zweig, and our Auditor Santo Carta.
And Mike, for the record, Plymouth is a client of mine.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Okay, Mayor, do you want to start with an update?
Absolutely. Last month and a half or so, we've been knee deep in budget. Our process is a little earlier than a lot of other municipalities. Our Board of Finance is completed their work. We have actually a public hearing and budget presentation tomorrow. We have a tri-board meeting, and as long as the Board of Finance's recommended budget that they will pass tomorrow is under 3%, the council can adopt it with changes as long as they stay under the 3%. And right now, their proposed budget's at 2.67% increase. And I would expect something somewhat close to that to be the final outcome. I wouldn't expect the council to make any major changes, nor the Board of Finance tomorrow, pending obviously a public hearing. So as of tomorrow, our budget process for the next fiscal year should be completed, barring an unforeseen circumstance. And so we're excited about that. It's actually been, I think, one of our cleaner budgets this year. Again, we fully fund our pensions. We don't take anything out of our undesignated fund balance. And those are two issues that, you know, in the past, you know, Plymouth has kind of fallen down that rabbit hole on occasion. And for the last at least 3 years, and maybe going back a little bit longer, we have not done that. So we're trying to budget as responsibly as we can. Again, barring an unforeseen circumstance, we plan on continuing that practice moving forward. I'll leave the audit update to Santa. Santa, I don't know if you want to do a quick update for our 23 audit.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'll give you a quick update on this. So we've been done for a few weeks. We put it into our internal inspection, I think like 3 weeks ago. And as of like 2 weeks ago, cleared our second review. We just had a comment regarding some HR consultant services that the CLA also offers or does for the town of Plymouth. And that person's no longer with us. So we're just trying to do our due diligence to ensure that we are independent. So we've gone through WIP and emails just because we really can't get a hold of the person, the HR person, to answer our questions. As of last night, I think we got clarifications on what we need to do to just a quick, with Grace and I have to kind of talk about it, just a quick email clarifying what the HR consultant actually did for the town of Plymouth. And as soon as that's done, all the other comments are done, and we will probably, I think next week we should be issued. I mean, it's just going to be an assembly process at that point after the email. So they're pretty much done at this point, besides this one little issue. There is the corrective action plan. They won't have one for 23. It'll be cleared. And I'm not sure if you guys are worried about the results at all, since technically I haven't gotten to sign off on being able to issue these.
Okay. All right, sounds like you're almost there. Grace, how are things going on your end with the current year? Are the books up to date?
Yeah, all the bank reconciliations are up to date. We're almost done with March's reconciliations. Obviously, February's are done. We did hire on a new staff person, so that's a big help. And yeah, we're doing good for the year end. So hopefully the 24 audit will be done by December 31st. We do have an RFP out there for audit services. We had a 3-year contract with CLA. The due date for the submissions is tomorrow, and so far we haven't gotten anything. I haven't even gotten any questions or anything, and there hasn't been any activity on it. So in discussions with CLA, they mentioned that they're not going to leave us in the lurch, that we're going to, in a pinch, they'll step in and do the audit. So, but we are on track, and we hope that the 24 audit will be submitted by December 31st. That's the plan.
And how are the projections looking for the end of this year for results of operations?
pretty even, we're about like a 40,000 surplus.
Okay. And Mayor, just back to the budget proposal, is there any modification in the mill rate, or will it be the same going into next year?
No, so under the current proposed budget, the mill rate would increase 0.94.
Okay.
And I also, in the budget, I do want to point out in one of our past meetings, there was a recommendation by a board member to look at our investment income. We had currently had very little, and we did engage our bank, and we were able to get our general fund moved into a much higher interest-bearing account. And so that is reflected in the budget. So we will have some significant increase in investment income moving forward. And that is also reflected in this budget.
I just want to add to his comment that we were previously bringing in maybe $15,000 a year, maybe. We are up to like 100,000 in interest income in our bank accounts in just the first 3 months, switching our investment strategy.
Nice. Yeah. And on the staffing front, Grace, I think you had mentioned you've added another staff person in the department. Are there any open vacancies at this point?
No, we're fully staffed now.
Okay. All right, fantastic.
So that brings us up to a finance director, 2 staff accountants, and a payroll accounts payable individual.
That's great. Okay. Okay, for the commissioners, why don't we start with Diane? You're good. Okay, Tony?
No questions, thanks.
Okay, Ed?
Just quick, for the auditor, I presume you're gonna get over or get beyond that independence issue in terms of being able to release a report for 2023?
Yeah, as of last night, I think we have a plan to get over it. Yeah.
Awesome.
This is just I want to make a quick comment. The partnership with CLA providing human resource has been an ongoing process. I think the issue is that the individual left, and so they're not available to answer questions. And so I wouldn't expect any independence issues. It's completely separate. Right. She didn't make any management decisions, so it should be okay once they figure out whatever information they need.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Glenn?
I have no questions.
Okay. All right. Well, Mayor, Grace, thank you for the updates. Things seem to continue to be moving in a very good direction. So we'll look forward to seeing you in early June.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is other business. Bill, do you want to start with each of the items?
Yeah, so we did send the commission our latest guidelines for draft guidelines for municipalities meeting with the commission, and we just wanted any feedback or for a review and any feedback. The objective was to have something that we could provide to municipalities as guidance as to what type of reports we're seeking and the type of information that should be provided for each of these meetings.
Okay. Yeah, and Bill, on that, if I could just bother you to maybe resend the email, maybe shoot for early next week and see if the commissioners who haven't responded, if they can, have an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to take a look at that.
Sure. And we also, as a separate email, had provided our recommended practices, best practices guide that we're trying to get something out to municipalities. Again, it's not going to be a panacea in all these late audits, but we thought that we needed to provide a little bit more guidance that may help some municipalities in as to what needs to occur during the year in order to have a timely audit.
Yeah, and I think on that front, for the meeting on June 5th, in preparation of that, maybe if you can provide us with a listing of the cities and towns that haven't filed their 2023 audits, as we close out, 12 months since the close of that fiscal year. Certainly, it sounds like we'll be in a good place with the 2022s with the three remaining outstanding towns, all indicating that, if not within the next couple of weeks, at least within a month, those 2022 audits will be filed. So I certainly, based on what you provided today, 2023 doesn't look very good at the moment, but, hopefully it'll get a little bit better over the next 30 to 60 days.
Yes, we know that for the 22, we had like 20 reports filed after the maximum June 30th, deadline, which is all the extensions that we could grant. So we're hoping to have some improvement on that, but at this point, it's unknown. And the final, we also had proposed some legislation. One being to increase the state single audit threshold from the current 300,000 to 500,000. And there was also a proposal to increase the penalty for late audit filing for municipalities from currently it's anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000, and the proposal was to increase from 1,000 to 50,000, and also that it could be in the form of a reduction of a state grant rather than assessing, where a municipality would have to actually send in the funds. So we believe, from what I've heard yesterday, it appears that those items are moving through. So we haven't heard anything that it's not going to be passed, but only what at this point there's no given as to what may happen.
Okay. Well, the session will be over pretty soon. I think it's May 8th is the last day of the session. So you'll provide us with an update as it gets closer to the end of the session?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. Okay. For the go to the order, commissioners, do you have anything you want to address or?
Just a quick question on the guidelines that were in the packet. I think what you're suggesting is if we have any comments on that, just email those over to Bill in the next week or so.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then Bill, just quickly, you mentioned that there's penalties in place. Is that something that typically gets assessed? Particularly as we're looking like at the various towns we talked about today. Does the state generally assess those, or do they try to work with the towns, or what?
Actually, we haven't assessed penalty against a municipality in a number of years. We made some changes to the Municipal Auditing Act and part of this is where towns come before the Municipal Finance Advisory Commission now, and they can be designated by the commission as a Tier 1 municipality, meaning they have to develop a 5-year plan, and they have to regularly meet with the commission. Right now, the Danbury, East Lyme, and Marlborough are basically invited to the meetings, but they have not been formally designated by the commission as a Tier 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill, what has been the process in the past as you know, as we're getting 12 months out from, you know, July 1 of 2023, is there a letter or anything that goes to the chief official in the towns that haven't filed?
Yes, last year, we did send a letter out to all 20 municipalities that submitted after the 1 year, the maximum 6 months in extension had expired. And basically, we asked them to provide us with a timeline and the reasons why the audits were late and had not been submitted. So that we sent out 20 letters actually, and we're still meeting with 3 of those municipalities right now with that regard.
Okay, and would the plan to do the same this time around as well?
Yes, actually, we wanted to send out, yeah, we will be sending out that for those, but we also wanted to, we hope to send out a letter before the end of this month, just advising towns that have not submitted as to they're in danger of you know, having to come before the commission or being assessed the penalty.
Okay. All right, very good. So, and with that, you know, it's probably best just to wait for the close of the legislative session and see if any of the proposed bills have been passed.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, commissioners, for your time today, and hopefully you'll be able to get out later this afternoon and enjoy some of the good weather. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
day.
Have a good day,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.